What is going on, Sports Mockery guys? We're back at it again. We're talking Bears rookie camp. What's happening, guys? It's been about a week since we've chatted. We got a lot of Bears stuff to catch up on.
We do.
How's everything going with you guys? How's the week been?
Busy, but always good when you have Bears news to discuss.
Can't complain. No kidding. Can't complain. What does that mean? It means it was an okay week?
I'm always happy when we've got a lot of Bears stuff to talk about.
Yeah, man, we do. Again, hey, guys, welcome into the show. We got quite a few people tuning in to start off. If you guys haven't heard of us yet, Club Dub Podcast presented by SportsMockery.com. Erik, Dhruv, and Kevin talking Bears. We just launched this podcast a few weeks ago. This is about our fifth or sixth show. Really pumped to be with you guys. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about. A lot of great highlights and things to show you from Bears rookie camp. Justin Fields looked pretty good. A lot of hype around him starting this year. Daz Newsome wants a Waffle House. We'll see if we can talk to Mayor Lightfoot about getting that implemented. Now that I have a gig with GN, maybe I'll put the pressure on her and I'll talk a little bit about getting a Waffle House in the city or something for Daz, because he was really hyped about it. He really wanted it. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about rookie minicamp. Talking about Jalen Ramsey. He's talking shit again. We'll get right to it right now. But guys, rookie camp wrapped up this week. And I saw a few of the highlights. Obviously, from Bears protocols, you can't have the video online for a certain amount of time, but I saw Fields throw the ball. Looked calm, cool, collected. He just looks like he's prepared. What did you guys see?
Pretty much the same. I mean, everything you saw from the throws he made in rookie minicamp looked routine, as they should when you're in shorts and no pads. The last thing you want to hear about is any sort of noticeable hiccups. Him missing easy out routes to a receiver or in the flat, or taking troublesome snaps from center, that sort of thing. These were things that were an issue with Mitch back in 2017. A lot of people forget that, so maybe it was a red flag at the time, but it doesn't seem to be any sort of issue with Justin Fields.
I remember when Trubisky's first practice happened. I forget who reported it, but it might have been Dan Pompei. But he said, there was a quote from John Fox, "I don't think we're quite ready to define the career of Trubisky after one practice." Clearly, he had trouble. He was fumbling snaps, whatever else. And, all this stuff is fair. These guys have not taken snaps from under center before, whatever. But the fact that Fields came in first practice and is, to Erik, what Erik pointed out, what Nagy said was, Fields went in and corrected a receiver's route on a play where he, ran the wrong route after looking at a certain coverage. That's incredible. That's really good.
First practice he did that.
First practice, exactly. And it's been, 2 weeks since he's been drafted? I mean, how much could he have really retained? It's honestly incredible. That really is good news. And so Nagy made, reference to it that, I want to, everything that we saw, nothing looked too fast. He looked calm, cool, collected. That's great. And that's obviously, encouraging for, first practice and first weekend.
Yeah, great video work by the Bears social media team, too. They put together a really nice video of Fields throwing the ball just with some music underneath it. It was just poetry in motion. The thing I really liked that Mitch never could do was Mitch always had to wait for a play to develop before he made his throw. And I know this was just his first couple of practices, but Fields was throwing the ball. He was leading guys to their spots, correcting guys when they ran the wrong routes. That is the energy you want from your quarterback. I don't care if he's calling out Allen Robinson for it. I don't care who you are. If you run the wrong route, you ran the wrong route. Obviously Allen Robinson wasn't there. This was rookie camp, but that's the type of energy you want to see from your quarterback. That was really good to see, and that's kind of why we're starting to see more of this chatter that guys like Olin Kreutz and former Bears really want to see Fields start week one. I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about it. He looks, good in practice and things like that. I still maintain that it's going to be Dalton, but if he's the best quarterback for it, we heard Nagy talk about it a lot this week. If he's going to be the guy helping him win games, you throw him out there, right? Week one.
I mean, if he clearly outperforms Dalton in training camp, and I mean clearly, then the Bears, you don't have a choice. He's the better quarterback in the room, so you got to throw him out there. It's just a question of Nagy's not going to hand Justin Fields anything. He's going to make him earn it. He's like, okay, yeah, you might be the most talented guy in the room, but that doesn't mean you're the best right now. You're going to have to prove it to us. So prove it in practice. Consistently beat up the defense, perform better than Dalton, and if you do that, then we'll consider throwing you out there week one. until that happens, Dalton is going to be viewed as the guy because of his experience and his proven productivity in the past.
And it's not just physicality, right? I mean, physically, there's no contest. Fields is a better quarterback in terms of arm strength and, obviously speed and all of that. That part's no contest. It's all about reading defenses, knowing the offense, all of those things. And I understand that Dalton is new to all of this too. Yes, he's played with Bill Lazor before, but I'm not expecting that offense to be very similar to what the Bears are installing here in Chicago. We'll see what happens, but Dalton has experience. He's learned, a couple of new offenses in his career. So he has experience doing this. Fields, we'll see. We'll see how well and how quickly he acclimates. But, if at the very least, what I could see happening is maybe the Bears originally felt that, hey, Fields needs to sit the whole year or needs to sit, through week 12 or whatever it is. It's possible Fields is cutting that down. So now the Bears might feel like, man, this guy is super close. 6 weeks in, we're going to face, let's say, I forget who's who they're playing week 7, but let's say it's, San Francisco. We're ready to roll him out versus San Francisco. Let's just do it. So if he's cutting that time down, that's great. So, obviously to be determined, but first weekend was relatively encouraging for Fields. So that part's good.
Love that we're already getting the comments rolling in, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is a great comment right away for you from Gillespie, Beluski 633. Comes down to playbook. I absolutely agree. I know both guys are learning the same system, and that's really what makes this an even competition. We knew with Foles coming in last year, we already heard the hype. Oh, he knows Nagy's playbook, and Mitch is still learning it too. But we knew that Foles was going to play at some point in the year. This year, we think Fields is going to play, but it's different because Nagy has the history of sitting with Mahomes that first year, and guys who have a lot of success in the league have sat for a year. So there are some differences here. We don't know if Fields is actually going to play. I'm going to say he will, but you're right. It comes down to a lot of playbook. And I think it's only fair to wide receivers, especially the younger guys, that they have to learn one playbook. And I expect Andy Dalton to have to run all the same plays that Fields runs. And that's where it comes down to. Dalton won't be able to do that. That's why I think Fields takes over sometime this year.
Without a question. I mean, there are two ways where this is going to happen. Either the Bears are going to be losing at some point to where Nagy realizes, okay, Dalton's not working. Let's just start the rookie era and see what he can do. Or Dalton gets hurt, and then Fields goes in, probably plays pretty well, and he ends up just staying starter the rest of the year. So, those are the two scenarios that make the most sense right now. In a couple of months, we're going to probably be hearing a lot of rumors coming out of Hallis Hall regarding training camp. If he's performing really well and he sort of backs that up in the preseason, the Bears may not have a choice and may realize, okay, this is the best guy we got on the roster, and if we're going to win some games, it's probably going to be with him.
I do want to address a comment here from Not a Cap. If this were an actual competition, don't you think he would be using the word competition? I know what you're saying. I don't think so, because we have to think about the timeline here. Bears signed Andy Dalton after they apparently made a play for Ryan Fitzpatrick. That fell through. They signed Andy Dalton after the trade discussions for Russell Wilson kind of fell through. So they have publicly made this claim that Andy Dalton's their starter. They went into the draft telling Andy Dalton, hey, we will probably draft a quarterback if the situation arises, but you are still our starter. So there is a little bit of this political game that they're playing. And it's very possible that the Bears feel that Justin Fields was so good in minicamp and training camp and preseason that we just cannot justify starting Andy Dalton, no matter how decent even he was maybe in practice. Fields is so much better. I have to start him. Then they'll do that. And I think they're going to find a way to do that nicely, the way they did when they actually benched Nick Foles. They went with the injury route, and yeah, it's a nagging injury, and you just feel this is the best right now. They were never going to come out and say Foles sucked, and Trubisky is the lesser of both suckers, right? Similar deal here. They're not going to publicly come out and say, you know what, this is a competition. They are very respectful of their players. They have a way of doing these things, and so they're going to be very mindful and and pretty tactful on how they roll out this news if they do decide to go with Fields.
Yeah, that's not Nagy's style. I mean, we saw him talk about it again this week. He referred to Mitch and not being able to do as much as he wanted to last year. That was obvious to all of us. You know,
Right.
we all saw it. We all saw him want to run plays he couldn't run. We all got angry at Nagy for the play calling. You know, and if rightfully so, it sucked, but like it wasn't all his fault. But he's not going to go out and bust toss his old quarterback, and just like he wasn't going to bust toss Foles, and even if Dalton loses the job, he's not going to go out and say this guy sucked and Fields is better. Nagy is a true professional coach. He's not going to go out there and bash anybody. That's and truthfully, I agree with his methods. Andy Dalton is gonna, like you said, Drew. I've come around. I think if nothing else, he's a solid backup. I just love. Yeah, you convinced me. You convinced me. I didn't want to let it happen, but the more I look at it, the more I look at the Sam Darnold situation, Teddy Bridgewater situation. I'd much rather have Andy Dalton than either of those guys. I look at Denver right now. They're already praying that they get Aaron Rodgers. That's why they passed on Fields. That's the latest rumor. And they went out and signed Bridgewater. It just goes to show all those you're not winning with those guys. I don't think you win much with Andy Dalton either, but I'll take a proven starter over a guy that, might get hurt again, or, we know who he is. He's not very good, straight up, not good. But no, I loved hearing what Nagy had to say about Fields this week. It was just so, I just never heard him talk like that before. It was just this guy, he was going through actual progressions, like what happens if the safety turns his head this way and they change formation during the middle of the play. It's about adjusting on the fly, and Fields was doing that in practice. And he was just saying all these things. We never heard him talk with Mitch. It was almost like the training wheels are already off day one, and that's impressive stuff. Another guy that we're going to talk about tonight too is Mr. Daz Newsome. This was the story of the week. I'll tell you what, two of these Bears rookies are going to be really fun just to be around, like fan-wise. What's that?
They're going to be sound bites.
Oh, yeah. Him and Tevin Jenkins are hilarious.
Yeah, I love your characters.
Matt Nagy is that's one of the first things he said, too. Like, first of all, I love the guy's personality. And you have to. I mean, I don't know if you guys listened to that full press conference, from beginning to end, but he comes out and says, you know what, I want a food recommendation from all of you. And everyone got into it. I think, Mark Grody and Jeff Dickerson, I think Dan Wiederer also, like they all pitched in their places. And I agreed with, quite a few of them. They're actually pretty good recommendations there. But the whole Waffle House thing was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Like, where do you go if you want food at 3 or 4 a.m.? Why are you guys awake at 3 or 4 a.m.? Come on, man.
What do you mean? You're not awake at 3 or 4 a.m.?
Well, I guess I'm starting to get up at 4 a.m. Starting to get up at 4 a.m.
So I just found out my new shifts. I'm going to be at WGN. I'm going to be doing like 4 a.m. like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm going to be on that early grind. So maybe I'll be going to Waffle House before. Maybe I'll run in. Well, we don't have a Waffle House up here. I'll have to go to IHOP or something. Waffle House is fantastic though. Here's Daz Newsome talking about Waffle House. I love this sound.
On the south side, so you need to get you some Harold's chicken. I don't know if anybody's told you about that yet.
Nah, I ain't heard about no Harold's chicken. Hey, you know what's crazy? They don't got no Waffle House down here.
No, we ain't got no Waffle House.
Yeah, I thought Waffle House was global. I ain't know Waffle House was only in the South. That's crazy. Where do y'all go when it's 24 hours and y'all want to go at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning type deal?
It was good luck, basically.
Oh man.
But knowing that the Bears are in need of people on punt returns as well as impact players at the wide receiver position, what is your mentality? And how you feel with a bit of excitement knowing you can impact the game on multiple layers for the Bears?
Yeah, for sure. My mentality is really just to come in and do my job and try to get a job, honestly, and try to make sure I get on that field as any way as possible. Whether it's kickoff, whether it's kick return, whether it's punt team, gunner, or whether it's punt return.
I love that. I don't know what part of that quote I love more, but the Waffle House thing is obviously hilarious. But Newsome knows that this is a crowded wide receiver room, and he's going to have to battle for that spot. And the fact that he's willing to, go out and maybe have a Tariq Cohen type of role his rookie year, just like Cohen did his rookie year. He played in the offense, but not a whole lot. He was mainly known for special teams. I love that. I absolutely love that quote because I think that's where he's going to get his reps this year.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry. He comes across as a guy who understands fully where he's at. Yes, he was drafted. That's one thing, but he was drafted in the 6th round. He's not going to be handed anything, on this roster. He's going to have to earn his way into playing on that field, and he understands that his best route right now is special teams. If you get noticed on special teams, usually that leads to more things down the line. I mean, it's the Terrell Davis syndrome. Nobody knew who he was on the Denver Broncos until he made a huge tackle on special teams in Tokyo for the Broncos, and all of a sudden, a couple of years later, he's running 2,000 yards and he's an MVP. So, special teams is always the gateway to bigger things in the NFL, and the fact that Newsome recognizes that is definitely a good thing.
Totally agree. And the impact that you can have on special teams, especially for a team like the Bears, who, I mean, yes, I am relatively confident that their offense is going to be significantly better this year, but for a team that has struggled so much to move the ball and had such a reliance on defense, having someone who can contribute on special teams and flip field position. I mean, this team, how bad has their starting field position often been? Because they can't move the ball, 3 and punt. Defense gets a stop, but the other team's punting them, deep into the, inside their own 20, and here they are, having to go 85, 90 yards, on a drive. Now, have someone like Daz Newsome who has done this really well at the college level, who has significant electricity that you can bring to the field. It's good, and he recognizes that opportunity, that I can contribute here. This is one of my strengths. He feels that he can work his way into the rotation at wide receiver at some point. I think he can do it pretty early, but even if the Bears coaches don't, he will contribute this year on offense. But recognizing that his opportunity to come in, make an impact, shine in the coach's eyes on special teams, it's important. Khalil Herbert said the same thing. He feels he can be a contributor at kick returner, and he realizes that, hey, Cordero Patterson was a genuine weapon, one of the best in the NFL, and has been for a while. The Bears lost him, and here's an opportunity for me to slot in, and I can contribute here. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
This team is they're gonna burn teams. I would love to look at this, their combined 40 times, from this Bears team, because Nagy said that they're a better team this year than they are last year. I'm gonna disagree with that.
Ooh.
But I also want to say that when I do say that, I think that the speed on this team could allow them to have a higher ceiling. They have so many weapons on this offense that are just going to blow right past you. We're going to talk about one who's already getting smack talked on Twitter by Jalen Ramsey and Darnell Mooney. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but this team just has so much speed on the offensive side of the ball now, from Fields to Montgomery. Cohen's coming back. Daz Newsome is super quick. Allen Robinson's not slow. He's not going to burn by you, but he's not slow by any means. I mean, this team's got a lot of running back depth, and I will agree. When Nagy said on the airwaves this week that this team is better because of their depth, I'll agree with him on the offensive side of the ball. But I don't think they're a better football team than they were last year. I think it's going to be a very similar outcome. You lost guys. You got to go up against a lot of great running teams this year. You lose Brent Urban. You lose Roy Robertson-Harris. And then obviously you lose Kyle Fuller. I mean, whether we want to spin it or not, we don't know how Eddie Goldman's going to be this year. He could be all right, but he's aging. We knew how good Roy Robertson-Harris was last year and how good Brent Urban was when he came in. And both those guys are gone now. And that sucks. And I really don't think this team got any better. I think that it's going to be a stalemate.
Oof. Kevin, damn. Dumping ice water.
I'm sorry. I think they have switched over to the offensive side, which is important because that's modern day NFL. You got to have a better offense than a defense, but I don't think that they're that much better of a football team. They lost some really, really key positions, and I think everyone's kind of, now that we come out of this cloaking of Fields being so exciting, I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that defense yet.
And that's fair. You got a new defensive coordinator, totally unproven, in Sean Desai. Does he have potential? Of course he does. He's a really intelligent guy, but he's never done this before, so you don't know about that. And then you lose two of your key starters in the secondary, not only Kyle Fuller, but Buster Skrine as well. So there's a lot of question marks regarding that side of the ball, justifiably so. And they're going to be facing some really good quarterbacks this year, which makes you even more nervous about it. So, but at the same time, I think their front seven's every bit as good as it was last year, and I think they might actually be deeper in the front seven, and even with the loss of Robertson-Harris and some other guys, especially at outside linebacker. I like what they've done at outside linebacker in terms of their depth. So, Charles Snowden, Jeremiah Tauchu, I've always been a big fan of. I think he's an underrated reserve. I think Travis Gibson has a chance to, take a step forward this year. He has talent. So in the front seven, I'm not too concerned about it. It's a question of, can they get that secondary figured out? And if they can, they're still going to be a pretty decent defense. And if the offense is better, as you say, they're still going to be in the mix, come later in the season, I believe.
Yeah, I think they'll be in the mix. I just don't think they got any better. I agree. I don't think the front seven's going to be bad, but I really don't see how, I don't see how Father Time is going to help Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack at all this year. Those guys were banged up last year. Maybe they stay healthy this year, but you're right. I mean, they got to go against some top-tier quarterbacks this year. They're going to have to play a heck of a lot better, and they don't have any leeway now in the secondary, losing Kyle Fuller. As much as we saw Jalen Johnson look really good last year, he's not ready to be a shutdown cornerback one. He's not. We can try and say that he is, but he's not yet. And I have some serious concerns about them giving up some long touchdowns this year without Kyle Fuller, especially if that pass rush isn't there. That's my big concern.
So, I see what you're saying. Here's if I look at this overall team, certainly their schedule is harder. Certainly, and that matters as far as if we're looking at record and how we put them to play. But if I go down the position groups, right? Quarterback, they're better. Running back, they're better. Wide receiver, they're better. Offensive line, they're better. Tight end, they're the same. Defensive line, I guess they're more or less the same. I'd probably say they're improved because they're getting Eddie Goldman back and they have proper nose tackle depth in Tonga. Their edge rushers are better because they have, Ata Uchu, who you mentioned, Erik, is good depth. Travis Gibson should be ready for year 2. So I would argue their edges are better. Their linebacking depth is better. So they have actual decent depth at middle linebacker and in general as part of their front seven is significantly better. Their safeties, in theory, now that the scheme is moving back to more of that Vic Fangio type scheme, hopefully Eddie Jackson is back to what he should be. So you have the back end. You don't know, right? But there's a little bit of projection there. And then cornerback, I agree with you. Cornerback is significantly weaker, but they are better at almost every position on the team in terms of depth and in terms of talent, for starting talent. So, and quite honestly, building a team to focus specifically on defense first is not the way to do it in the NFL today, in today's NFL. You need to have a significantly decent offense to compete in today's NFL and to have an open window for a long time. The Bears, I think, have finally understood that, and I think they're finally have shown steps to build towards it. Now, of course, it may not work out, and there is certainly concern there, but there is reason to believe they have built their team in a way that is, ready for success in today's NFL. Now, and we'll see. I mean, obviously now it's up to the coaches and the players to actually execute. But
yeah, how much do you think? Like, I'm going back to the middle linebacker, or like the linebackers, outside middle linebacker. How much do you honestly think that Snowden and these rookies are going to actually play? Because honestly, you think they might get more time if we start to see, like, I don't know, like, do you honestly think they're gonna play a decent amount? Like, I honestly don't know. That's my biggest, like, it's just too many unknowns back there that I don't know if Snowden's playing. I don't know if we're going to see more of, who I can't remember the name slipping my mind, but the pass rush wasn't there last year, and I just don't know if he's going to come in and take that spot and it's going to be any better.
So Robert Quinn was on the upswing towards the end of the year.
Quinn.
I thought. So that's big. I think that is important. Ata Uchu is really good depth. Travis Gibson taking that second step now that he's had a season to transition from having his hand in the dirt to standing up. Now, is he ready for in year 2 to make that leap? I think in theory, yes. Snowden, we may not see him this year, play very much, but certainly there's talent there worth harnessing. And I think they do have a pretty good depth at some of their middle linebacker spots, behind Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan. I think they're better equipped, going into 2021. So, I mean, but again, defense, I expect there to be a little bit of a drop off in terms of starting talent. I expect there to be maybe some mitigation to that with some of the scheme changes. And I think I do have faith in Sean Desai. From everything I'm hearing and reading about him, there is reason to be, optimistic on that. I think offensively, where you see a lot of positive externalities on just having an offense that functions properly, just not even well, just properly. I think there's going to be a lot of positive externality on the defense and other areas of the team, and I think that's going to help them.
One thing I would point out in regards to the additional thing about the pass rush is the return of Eddie Goldman is much bigger for that than people realize. Everybody points out to the run defense, justifiably so, because he's the primary nose tackle, but him coming back to nose tackle will allow Akeem Hicks and specifically Bilal Nichols to return to their more traditional defensive end spots and play them more primarily, which I think will help the pass rush because that's when they're most effective, when they're playing those positions. Both of them kind of had to move in between defensive end and nose tackle from time to time just to try and shore up the run defense because of Goldman's absence. Having him back allows them to not worry about playing nose tackle anymore, especially with the addition of Tonga, as you pointed out. So now, with guys less focused on trying to shore up a hole that was torn out of the defense from the start last year, I think that's going to help the pass rush in general.
Yeah, I like Bilal Nichols a lot. I would agree with you on that point. I think having Nichols not be right in the middle of things, I think that helps out. He's a nice find. I have my worries about them, and I think it's more so I'm getting ready to swallow a pill that I've never had to swallow as a Bears fan, and that's not having a dominant defense. Because I don't think this defense is going to be dominant. I think they're going to give up a lot of long plays this year, and it's really going to frustrate us, and that's going to be different. But it'll be different because we'll have an offense that can compensate for it. If Fields is playing, I don't think Dalton's that guy, but I think once Fields gets the ball, we'll have a modern day NFL offense that can compensate for longer and higher scoring football games. We were talking about depth on offense, and it sounds like Anthony Miller's been given new life, which I like this move a lot. This dude's got all the talent in the world, man. I do believe in Anthony Miller. I think that he can be a solid number 2 wide receiver on this team. I think he could maybe even overtake Mooney. Mooney looked great last year. I just think Miller he's got it all. He's just, he's needed the attitude. And it looks like after the first couple weeks of, practice and talking with Nagy, here's kind of what the coaches had to say about him. I mean, Mike Furry says he's doing his job. He's growing up. He's maturing. No issues. Sounds like a guy that's going to be around. And then here's what Nagy said. Really good discussions with Miller. We recently have been extremely healthy. Anyone has done everything. He's done everything we've asked him to do. He's one of the most competitive players I've ever been around. He understands that sorry, I have to cut that off there. He understands that got cut off. But either way, this is, it's a guy that's going to be here. Why not give him another shot? We thought he might get moved, but this is going to be a heck of a wide receiver room.
If there was a time to move him, it was before the draft, and I still maintain that. And I think if the Bears are not looking to move forward with Anthony Miller after this year, they are better off using him this year, having another weapon, right, as part of their depth as they acquire, ways to acquire more talent next year. Have Anthony Miller on the team, have him build up his value, and then have him leave and factor into that compensatory free agent equation. Basically, I think that'd be helpful. Dude, when he came out, I projected Anthony Miller to be, his comp was Antonio Brown to me. Route running, ridiculous footwork, ability to get open, great hands. All of that was evident in college. And he was a volume, production guy. So yeah, he had, some, concerns as far as volume of drops, but a lot of that, when you look at drop percentage, it was relatively low. So I looked at, all of his tape and I was like, my God, this guy is like a route running. It's insane. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that has carried over to the NFL. He still gets open with the best of them. It's just the specific details that have haunted him. And I just hope that he is really investing time to learn that this year, because if he can put together the detail with his raw ability, just the sky's the limit.
Who'd you compare him to?
Antonio Brown. I'm not even sorry. Not even sorry. Wait, you don't wait. Okay, so don't like that in terms of you don't like the comparison, or you don't like Antonio Brown?
Well, both, but I really don't like that comparison. No, Antonio Brown is an asshole, but I'm not a fan of him or anything that he's done on the field, and the things he's put other organizations through. I just think is really crappy, and we know that. We don't need to dwell on that or any of those. That comparison is absurd. I'm gonna be. I think it was maybe good coming out of school, but it's funny to look back on those now because obviously Antonio Brown is an elite talent. Yeah, would I love to see Anthony Miller sniff that? Yeah, I just don't have any faith that he will. I think that he can be a solid number 2, and maybe we'll see that this year. Again, we forget that he hasn't had a good quarterback in his career either. So, and I'm gonna show you guys this play because we have Jalen Ramsey talking smack again about this is a podcast. Why don't I just swear? He's talking shit again against Darnell Mooney. Sorry, I'm used to radio talking, not swearing. But no, like we forget Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney both are now going to get to play with a legitimate quarterback this year that can throw a deep ball. And we have Jalen Ramsey went on the record today because Bears fans have been in his mentions, which I love. Already getting ready for week 1. Love this fan base, man. We are the best. He's getting into his mentions. This is what Jalen Ramsey posted on his Instagram story earlier, I believe yesterday or today. Can't wait for week 1 so all these lame-ass Bears fans can shut up and they can get their number 2 wide receiver. It's funny because they know better. I don't know, man. Do we know? Do we know better? Because the last time I checked, here's what happened.
Damn.
You guys need to see that again because I need to see that again. Jalen Ramsey, you got burned, dude. That is just absurd. I mean, Jalen Ramsey, and you could tell he's so mad online about that. He can't even believe he let a rookie do that to him. He is so hurt about that. Honestly, what's up?
I was gonna say, you look at the 2 surefire touchdown plays, that game and the Bucks game, where the throw was just nowhere near Darnell Mooney. I mean, he has like a walk-in touchdown. He could walk the remaining 40 yards or whatever, and he'd probably score. And it's just like both were just so the misses were so bad. Oh my god, just
yeah. You didn't even see where that ball landed in that last video. It landed somewhere in the first row, maybe. It was such a horrible throw.
Quite honestly, this is typical Jalen Ramsey. We know he's a trash talker. He does that by design. But the thing about it is, I hope he ends up covering Mooney the entire game because that means somebody else is going to be covering Allen Robinson. So, he's probably going to end up having a big game. So the thing about Ramsey is he can't be everywhere at once. And if you can at least control Aaron Donald somewhat with your pass protection, just throw away from Ramsey and you're probably going to end up with a lot of completions. So, I think the Bears can end up having themselves a good day offensively if they, game plan the right way. That was the problem I always had with Mitch was he would always target the best player in their secondary consistently, not recognizing that, hey, maybe it's a good idea to go away from that guy and I might have more completions and more big plays. So I'm hoping Dalton or Fields will be better about something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Rams depth chart right now. It looks like cornerback they have Ramsey, and then the backup on the left side is Robert Rochelle, and then on the right side Darius Williams, David Long. Yeah, you're right. That's a hole there for their defense. If you're going to pick on
safeties too, they lost John Johnson, one of their better safeties.
Yeah, that's gonna be the hole for the Rams. Will definitely be that secondary because I don't think they have any others on that defense. Just kind of going through it. They're pretty solid all the way around. But we'll see if Leonard Floyd can live up to his expectation that he set for himself last year and live up to his new contract. That dude got paid.
Daily, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know. It is interesting, but I don't know, Jalen Ramsey. We see you here at Sports Mockery on Club Dub, and we're gonna take Darnell Mooney. That may be a little bit of a homer pick. I'm okay with admitting it. I'll take Darnell Mooney to burn him again.
The best part is the best part here is the Bears will probably put Anthony Miller out there and be like, okay, Anthony Miller, you take number 2, Darnell Mooney, you line up somewhere else, and then it'll be Miller doing the burning. That'll be fun.
And that's the thing, they all can. We keep talking about this speed factor. like, I don't know. I do believe in Nagy's culture. I just hope that this year we see it offensively with the amount of talent and the raw talent that's there. We may not see, we may not see these guys aren't in their primes. They're so young still. But if we can just see major improvements from Miller and Mooney, I mean, you're putting yourself in a really nice position to win some football games against some really talented defenses right out of the gate. So no, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see that. You guys been watching the Cubs and White Sox lately? Drew, you're a Cubs fan. Erik, are you a Cubs fan?
I'm a Chicago fan. I cheer for both of them.
Okay, I was thinking about this the other day. So Robbie Gould does the 7th inning stretch every year.
Love him.
Robbie Gould's a Bears legend. Andy Dalton's not. Justin Fields is new. I was just thinking about this because Boog Sciambi's been talking a lot about. Boog Sciambi's the play-by-play guy for the Cubs. He's been talking a lot about getting to know Andy Dalton because they're both redheads. I think it would be hilarious if the Bears and the Cubs had Andy Dalton go up there and do the 7th inning stretch and see that reaction from Wrigley Field. I honestly don't know what it would be. If I was in the stands, if I was in Wrigley for the stands for that game, I don't think I would boo. I think I would just be like, yeah, all right. But if Fields did it, I think I'd be fired up. I think Fields will definitely get it this summer. I think they will give him a shot. But I feel like if you give him a shot, that's kind of a slap in the face to Dalton, no?
Look,
not necessarily a slap in the face. The Bears are still giving him a chance to maintain what they've promised him, which is the starting job. But you still have to go out there and perform in practice, like we mentioned earlier. If Dalton doesn't perform in practice and he's struggling and Fields is clearly outperforming him, then the Bears don't have to feel justified to, still throw him out there on the field because Fields is just simply looking better. It's a question of you're going to have to look the part still, even though we may have promised you the starting job when we signed you. But at the end of the day, you got to perform in practice before we give you the job, going into the games. It's the same for Fields as it is for Dalton.
And I want to play something that Fields said in practice before we wrap up, something I've never heard Andy Dalton say. And it'll be interesting if Dalton comes out when we hear from him, if he takes part in OTAs or things like that. I want to hear a statement like this from QB1 Andy Dalton before I make my decision on who I want to be quarterback this year.
Hi, Justin. I'm curious what processes you've used to assimilate the information they've thrown at you in terms of the playbook. And have you gotten any advice from anyone about how to handle this process best and how to go about it?
Yeah, I just think it's, constantly, looking over it, making flashcards and stuff like that. I've done that. And, just looking at it, after we meet, going over it 30, 45 minutes by myself and kind of just reading over my notes and stuff like that. So as I said before, it's just like, as time goes along, I'll get more used to the playbook and I'll, eventually know it like the back of my hand. So it's just going to come with time. Just
going to come with time. Yep. And the fact that he's got flashcards, he's ready, man. You can just tell that this dude might be the starting quarterback again. Look at me playing in the gray area. I keep switching my eyes. I keep switching lanes. Look at me playing Ryan Pace today.
Man, I got to say is this. You listen to, and this actually does matter as much as, we say like press conferences are bullshit. They kind of do matter. Justin Fields, listening to him talk, he knows exactly what he's trying to say, what he wants to say. He comes across as, calm and collected, like Matt Nagy has said. He comes across as very determined. When did we ever hear any of this with Mitch Trubisky? It was always the same regurgitated bullshit of, just going to continue to get better, going to continue. No, it was always some rehearsed canned answer that someone told him, hey, only use these answers because you suck and we don't want you to really say what you think because you actually suck. Fields, it's a completely different demeanor. I'm sure his teammates are going to pick up on that when they're all working together, and that's going to be really, really big. And it's so refreshing to hear a quarterback of the Bears talk like this.
The best way in my way I'm viewing it to see it is Mitch always saw it as Nagy's offense. That's the way he operated. He was a good soldier. He was going to do what the coaches said. When you listen to Justin Fields talk, he's going to make that his offense, and they're going to move from there. He understands it's the coach's scheme and all that, but he's going to be the one end up running it on the field, deciding which plays, which protections, all that stuff. So he's got to make it his own from the start. And the fact that he already understands this as a rookie who's only been there a couple of weeks speaks to his maturity and his intelligence, which is never a bad sign for where you're trying to get.
Exactly.
And if things couldn't get any better, we have Blake Bortles in Green Bay still. People like to forget that Blake Bortles is the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers until Rodgers says otherwise. So awesome, guys. Great show tonight. It was fun talking. It was fun talking Bears. This offseason stuff it's a lot of fun. We get a lot of hype and around the team, and so appreciative of everybody tuning in. Guys, where can we find us on Twitter? What do we got to talk about next episode? Any fun articles coming out this week?
Eric's always got fun articles coming out.
We got OTAs coming up, veteran mini camps, mandatory mini camps. So there's going to be plenty to talk about. And, all those clips of Justin Fields are going to keep rolling out because the Bears know where their bread is buttered. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When do OTAs start, by the way? Do you know?
They pushed them back to June 1st. It was kind of a concession to the players because, worries about injuries, the whole COVID stuff still being a concern. So it was kind of a concession that we'll cut it in half, just do OTAs for a week, and then we'll move on to probably mandatory minicamps.
I will have my eyes on Allen Robinson that whole week. Really going to be interested if he shows up.
4 months away, guys, from football. Oh, 3 months away from football, 4 months away from actual football. So
I was in the office today for the first time getting to know people, and one of the ladies who's been there for 45 years was telling me, I'm where you go when you want to get tickets to like an event in the area, or you can put your name in the hat. And I'm like, all right, I'll see you on September 9th. I'm gonna hopefully that'll happen. But I don't know, Cole. We got to wait and see what the Bears, if they're gonna. I know the NFL said they're gonna try and do 100% capacity, but we'll see if that actually goes through. But yeah, I don't know. I love baseball season, but with the Bulls not being in the playoffs, Blackhawks not being in the playoffs, football season can't come soon enough. And
it's gonna be a long time. Yeah,
less than 4 months away. It's gonna be good. What's that?
Good news for us. More eyeballs on us.
Yeah, no kidding. It's always gonna be Bears talk. So we'll have another show probably next week. We'll talk a little bit about OTAs, who's showing up, who's not. And again, like you said, I'll make sure to have more Justin Fields tape cut up for that show. We'll have to do it on the day that they release it because I know that they have the media rights and things like that. But anyway, great show tonight, guys. It's a pleasure. Always. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody who left comments and everything else, give us a follow on Twitter. Go and share our Club Dub Podcast Facebook page. Again, we are relatively new. We are Club Dub presented by sportsmockery.com. Go ahead, give us a follow and read all those articles that we're going to be pumping out this week. And we will see you next time.